Characterized by expansive prairie spread across rolling hills, only a tiny fraction of the Palouse hasn't been converted into farmland for agricultural purposes. Over the past 3 years, I've spent countless hours searching the Palouse for all the wildlife it has to offer. Of the near 100 species of mammal I've seen in Washington state, over 1/3 have been seen in the Palouse, many of which, such as bobcat, moose, and western harvest mouse, I had never seen until I had spent a good amount of time in the Palouse. Stretching along the western edge of Whitman County, the scablands are made unique by their rugged terrain and rocky habitat that they provide. As this land is hard to develop, the Channel scablands is some of the most intact habitat left in southeast Washington's open areas. The American badger thrives in numbers in the scablands, often digging burrows into roadside bluffs and hunting local rodents such as northern pocket gopher, Columbian ground squirrel, and various vole species. It's easy to assume skunks aren't around until you start spending a considerable amount of time outdoors at night. If you get lucky, you might just see one walking along the road or ambling along the hedgerows. In the scablands and other parts of southeast Washington, skunks can also be found in rocky environments with sagebrush and bunchgrass present. As you slowly drive down rural roads, you might notice small rodents dart across the road and dive back into the underbrush. Such species are typically western deer mice, with Columbia Plateau pocket mouse and western harvest mouse seen regularly in more rural, undeveloped habitats. Perfect. See, that's exactly what I wanted. The Columbia Plateau pocket mouse. See how long the tail is? It's kind of thick at the end, has large hind feet. As we move south, we enter more typical Palouse hills surrounding some of the more developed areas. While much of the wildlife I've seen around the Palouse has been in rural areas in the far corners of the county, sometimes I see things I don't expect near the urban outskirts of towns such as Pullman and Colfax. In fact, I've seen the most red foxes anywhere in Washington state while walking around Pullman early in the morning and driving around late at night. Moose are most easily found near the towns of Steptoe and Colfax, with our favorite place to find them being Steptoe Butte. Our luck is typically around 50% with about half a dozen sightings. However, moose have also been seen at Kamiak Butte and sporadically across the Palouse. If you visit waterways and large bodies of water, such as this nice pond in the WSU Arboretum, you can frequently find muskrats and beavers swimming along the surface of the water around dawn and dusk. These species are quite abundant, and Koppel Gardens has a great urban beaver dam that is readily available to see 5 minutes from WSU campus. While many may not see beavers frequently due to their crepuscular activity, you often will see sign even when they're not active. This sign comes in the form of stumps with pointed tips from the chewing of beavers and paths that lead into the water that have been all matted down from the belly of the beavers and the debris that they're carrying with them. So when out and about at dusk, keep an eye out for a slow-moving object going across the surface of the water. If you get too close, it might tail slap and make a big loud noise, but it'll soon disappear and then reappear out of view in a lodge, somewhat like this. While all these mammals we listed are around, they're not as common as two of the most common species to see in these urban environments. First, fox squirrels. They're absolutely everywhere, though they are an introduced species. And second, I frequently see white-tailed deer hanging out along the Riverwalk and other urban yards and lawns in Pullman and Colfax. In all of the Palouse, the habitat corridors that run along the Snake River are some of my favorite areas to look for wildlife. While birds are abundant during the day, cruising the roads along the river after the sun has set rarely disappoints. During the warmer months, northern Pacific rattlesnakes and gopher snakes are frequently seen crossing the road anytime from sunset to sunrise, with peak activity right after the sun has fallen. Year-round, with an emphasis on the spring and the fall, bobcats and mountain lions can be seen occasionally with some very, very good luck.
We just stumbled upon this bobcat.
This bobcat here was spotted with a small group of deer while scanning from the car. We drove along, picked it up with the spotlight from the window, and lo and behold, there's a bobcat bedded down with a group of maybe 4 deer. This spotlighting method is a good way to pick up coyotes too, high up on the ledges of the canyon. Sometimes though, you'll have one right in the middle of the road, such as this little juvenile we found around late May. Small rodents such as mice and occasionally a bushy-tailed wood rat are sometimes seen in this extensive canyon habitat. Sometimes, however, I've come across a single northern pocket gopher hanging out on the pavement after it's been dark for a while. These species are seldom seen above ground, although their mounds are frequently seen in public parks, lawns, and yards. Contrary to what many people might think, bats aren't active all night, at least many of the species out here. Instead, they forage for around 2 to 3 hours right after the sun has set, and then once their stomachs are full and they're tired of flying around, they go and find a spot to roost for the night. These spots are frequently under bridges and in culverts. In early June, while checking a bridge for night roosting bats, I found one bridge that was just loaded with up to 200 Yuma Myotis, presumably. They're rather hard to identify. And regardless of whether or not there's a colony, you can always expect to maybe have a little bit of luck with some bats if you go under a bridge with some nice running water beneath it and excellent cracks for them to roost in.